Hey, listeners, it's Kimai.
And Vernita, we've got something extra special for you today. In this episode, we're taking you inside one of our signature events, Curriculum and Conversation.
Yeah.
Held in honor of the incredible work coming out of the Immersive Storytelling Academy we've developed for Pasadena Unified School District this summer.
Get ready to hear from none other than Alton Glass. We love Alton, founder of GRX Immersive Labs, as he dives into the powerful intersection of immersive tech and education. Whether you're an educator, creator, or you're just curious about what's next in learning, this conversation is one you won't want to miss. Let's jump in. All right, now what we are here for. Now we are here, and I'm just going to be very transparent here. In light of everything that's going on in our world, you guys know political transitions that are happening in our world, what's happening to the Black community. We felt that it was super important to begin to have a series called Curriculum and Conversation. We know the importance of making sure that Black children and all children succeed in education. Everybody knows that I founded this company in 2019, and the goal was to really make sure that we change the game in education for Black children. And so I'm honored to have a brother beloved with me today here. I'm going to talk about a lot of the things that we're digging into. But I've known Alton, man, probably about 7 or 8 years now, man. We first initially met on a panel for Afrofuturism at Cal State LA. And him and we exchanged information. And we knew each other were cool, but you know how you meet people in situations on panels, and you're like, I don't know what's gonna come of this. And we stayed connected. And so I do wanna introduce to you all Alton Glass, and I'm gonna read a little bit because I know everything is in my head, but I just wanna make sure that I don't miss anything. Alton Glass is a creative entrepreneur and immersive storyteller. He stands at the forefront as CEO of GRX Immersive Labs, a future-forward studio powering emerging technologies to innovate storytelling, accelerate immersive education, and amplify culture. His narratives aren't just stories, they're experiences. Passionate about empowering others, Glass is reshaping the contours of digital storytelling, ensuring voices are heard and new perspectives are brought to life. What's up, Scott? Hey. Recognized as an alumni of the Oculus Launchpad and Unreal Engine Virtual Production Fellowship, he co-created the immersive experience, The March, for Time Magazine, vividly recreating the 1963 March on Washington and Martin Luther King Jr.'s timeless speech. His innovative spirit was further showcased at Tribeca Immersive and POV Points of View, a sci-fi VR exploration of implicit biases in AI and policing. Collaborating with Verizon, Glass introduces arts, beats, and tech, and I had the privilege of working on that, not just as a tool, but as a beacon for innovators aiming to uplift and empower in the ever-evolving digital realm. With each project, Glass's commitment to empowerment and immersive storytelling aims to inspire creators to design the future. I want y'all to give it up for my brother, Alton Glass. Look, I'm official, bro. Look, I got cards and everything. Look at your face. I got cards, cue cards. All right. And I do want to let you all know, Alton and we got some Pasadena Unified School District folk in the building, specifically our African American Parent Council crew. Let me tell you about the African American Parent Council. They advocate for Black children in Pasadena in ways that I've never seen a group of parents advocate for children. And so I had an opportunity to run a Black Student and Family Task Force with them last year. So we've been going on 2 years. So there's a lot of familial love here. And out of that task force, we are now creating, Alton is a part of the team, we're creating a Pan-African Immersive Storytelling Academy for middle school students, and it'll be opening fall 2025. And so I just wanted to set the context for folks, Alton, but I really want to start you with this question because I get this question asked all the time. What is immersive technology?
Man, people ask me that all the time, but I think it has to come from like your own unique perspective, and that's why I decided to go in this field, right? Because we make things so much about technology, but it's really about how you leverage them, right? So in a nutshell, from a technical standpoint, it's really about how do you leverage virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence now I would argue is a subset of that. But it's how do you create an experience overall, right? It's an experience that you can create, and to me that's what immersive technology is about, and that's what it means, to me. So,
and a follow-up question I have to that: how do you think? Because I know you and I are designing the curriculum. The focus will be on immersive technology, leveraging it in mathematics, leveraging it in English language arts, and that's where we're starting, but we're also going to transition that into science and history. How can immersive technology be used to really enhance student engagement and learning in a technology-driven classroom? Because you and I know we walk these classrooms and they are so outdated. And so how does immersive technology really bring learning alive?
Well, I mean, it's interactive one, right? So, I mean, and if you think about the kids today, like, my niece, she's 6 now, but at 3, she was walking up to TVs going like this, right? So their world has been sort of rewired, psychologically with the evolution of technology. So when you meet them where they are, it gives them an opportunity to explore their imagination when they pick up these tools. And the beautiful part about it is, even, at my age, when I came into virtual reality, I might already have a certain amount of, I have a certain tamed eye to a certain degree, right? Becoming a filmmaker. But when you give it to the youth, they have an untamed eye and an experience where they can come in and we've seen them do things with this technology like, wow. You know what I mean? I didn't even think about those types of things. So I think they are already there. They've come out in a world of gamification, and it's just another tool to be able to give them the opportunity to express themselves and engage them in new ways that we haven't been able to do before.
Yeah, that's important. And I know you and I have walked through so many classrooms and we've seen kids disengage with learning. And now you marry that. You and I have been on calls with Unity and Epic Games, and rarely do we see folks that look like us.
Yeah.
What's the importance of our community getting into immersive technology?
Well, I think one, culturally, you're always going to see it advertised, right, from a consumer's perspective. And I think we have to really understand the importance of being a producer behind the technology, right? Because, it'll be monetized with the culture, but the culture won't take an opportunity to be able to leverage that revenue to come back to the community. So I think it's really important for them to understand how do they build and design their future with these technologies. And that was one of the main reasons why I was compelled to move into this space and make a cold turkey transition into the immersive space when I saw the void at one of the first, expos. I was like, wow, there's like thousands of people here, but I might have met, 2 or 3, people of color in this space. And I'm like, okay, there's billions and trillions of dollars in this space. Yeah. We don't be wanting to be knocking on a door 10 years from now saying we need a DEI for, virtual reality. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important because as we look at the future and you look at the companies like Apple or some of these organizations, we're moving into a spatial computing world where things are going to be, touch and things like that. Your glasses are going to get smaller. So who's building those things, right? Versus thinking about who's going to just consume them. How are we preparing our kids to be future-proof, to be able to design what's coming?
And what would you say is lacking in just getting the word out, particularly to the Black community, to Black parents and to Black families about why this is important for their children to really begin to embrace immersive technology?
What part is important, you said?
Yeah.
Access first. I think a lot of it is, you'd be surprised, a lot of individuals still don't know about terms like virtual reality, augmented reality, even artificial intelligence, right? So a lot of times it's just giving that awareness, like giving them an opportunity to get a touch point with it and experience it to see where they might find or see themselves in that arena. And I think that's the most important part because you can't be what you can't see, you know what I mean, or understand.
how do you think immersive technology can help bridge educational gaps? And you and I use this word because underrepresented is always floated out there, but we like to say underestimated.
Correct, yeah.
So
Yeah.
how can immersive technology help bridge educational gaps for underestimated communities?
Well, I think that's the beautiful part about it. It's like they're often overlooked, right? And as we mentioned, underestimated. So when you give them a chance to, and you talk about this, right? Understanding their self-knowledge first. Mm-hmm. And when you give them a chance to wrap their mind around the tool, they start to bring their own unique perspective into that space. And that's the beautiful part about when we've run programs like Arts, Beats, and Tech, with the team. And these kids will come up with ideas so refreshing, unleashing their imagination. And then once you can kind of give them an idea of a pathway, a career pathway, the light bulb goes off like, okay, this is what's under the hood, right? So immersive is just really a layer, right? A pathway to say, okay, you're engaged now. Let me turn it upside the head. Let me show you what's in here. This is engineering, this is math, this is science, all these amazing opportunities that you can explore. And once they get engaged and they understand that, then they can start to see the possibilities and the opportunities ahead.
And you actually do this in real time because I've seen you, and shout out Yao, who's also a part of GRX. I'm gonna talk about you in a minute, Yao. But you not only just talk this talk about exposing our communities to immersive technology, I've actually seen students come under your tutelage and begin to not only learn this technology, begin to master it. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, that's the part that gets me really excited, right? You know, somebody can come in making $20 an hour in our apprenticeship, right? And then in 6 months, they're making $50 an hour, right? No college background, none of that. And it's life-changing, you know what I mean? They're traveling the world, getting opportunities. And like we got a new young man, he just, he graduated from Hollywood High. Got a young kid named Tommy. He was actually just there to be a TA for the school when we hosted our Unreal Engine program for Hollywood High. And he was like, hey, I really want to learn how to do this more. Emailed the team and said, hey, can I get an internship, apprenticeship? And, he went from, working at the school, making $18 an hour, then $30 an hour. Now he's running shoots at $50 an hour. He's 21 years old. I mean, the proof is in the work.
And we see it because my team, that's where we're going to be shooting our podcast, because Alton now has a content house. He's got money, y'all. Listen. But we had an opportunity to go to my team and I. We went to his content house, and we actually met Tommy. Mm-hmm. And so Tommy's rates is his rates. But we began to just really ask him about his experience, and he really credited the high school experience that he had with Alton, because now he's able to monetize that, not only for himself, but his family, his community. And so I've seen that empowering work that you've done, and you really are moving people from just simply being consumers of this technology to producers. So I do want to ask this, because we are developing this work for the academy that we'll have in Pasadena Unify. What would you say are some of the key benefits and challenges of integrating AI and VR tools into educational curriculum?
Key benefits, it's refreshing. It's engaging, but it's also challenging. And it gives kids problem solving, really analytical skills they can work on. It's very collaborative. And I really love the peer-to-peer aspects of it, because it's like, when a kid is playing a video game or something's not right, they share information. Oh, you know what, go here, do this, right? Absolutely. And it gives them that same sort of digital playground with these tools, you know what I mean? And I would say that the biggest challenge is probably the educators are probably a little bit overwhelmed, right? They already have so much work to do. So we try to make it so that we can lower the barrier to entry to make it digestible for them, get them excited and engaged, so they can come back with something exciting and be like, look what I got. And the kids are like, now they like seeing eye to eye and they're having a good time together. And then they start to learn from each other, which is beautiful, right? Because you don't have to be a XR expert as an educator, right? But once you get your hand and wrap around one idea, you can start to think about how do I leverage this in my math class? How do I leverage this in my English class? And then when you start to peel that back, then the kids start to connect with you on a much more engaging level, which I find is really beautiful. So the biggest challenge is just awareness again, right? And just taking that time. It only takes a couple of hours to really dig in and learn how to leverage it from a very basic standpoint of your iPhone, right? Doing augmented reality or 3D scanning like we did at the workshop in Pasadena. And to see how the educators and the parents were able to start to repeat back ideas, how they could use it. I was like, okay, yeah, I can do your thing now. You know?
Absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about the amazing work that you've done. I first want to talk about that Time March on Washington experience that you curated. Walk me through a little bit about that, because you did that in partnership with Time, Viola Davis. So talk to me about how that project really came to be, and how amazing was that to really work on that project?
Man, that was surreal, you know, because I would say one, they really wanted to. Well, Time Magazine, you know, they're a journalistic, you know, institution, right? So they really wanted to be to the T, even though it was virtual reality. You know, we had to go through the same journalistic process, right? If a swatch or a color pattern or something wasn't reflective of the 1963 time period, it wasn't going in the experience, right? So it took me on a long educational journey myself, learn about the details and the nuances of not only the world building, but even all the people who are part of that process, right? The actual march itself that I learned about by Rustin and all these amazing individuals. So the goal was just to how do we take something that's been around, you know, 60 plus years, from a textbook standpoint or news standpoint, and how do we give you an opportunity to not just learn about history, but walk inside and live that history. And I think that was the most beautiful part about how that project came together, because we were able to work with Dr. King's estate and recreate Dr. King in a virtual, you know, 3D photorealistic portrayal of him, and his children had to actually sign off on it and walk up to their dad in virtuality and see him and say, okay, wow, that we'll sign off on that. And then, you know, you have innovators like Viola Davis might be an actor, producer, and filmmaker, but her company Juvie has been really future forward in understanding immersive technology. So they were already doing virtual reality as a company, right, outside of just their movies. So her company came on, her team. She had a wonderful team, and then she also, you know, her voice was what carried the experience through as well. So it was really beautiful to see. And then it became an installation. So that's one of the things we try to do, like how do we transform spaces? And the best part about that was we put it up in Chicago at the DeSalvo Museum as an installation. They trained individuals from the surrounding community on how to leverage immersive technology, and they had jobs created where they were actually running the installation and the exhibition, and it's been there for years now. So it was just a great regenerative ecosystem built around that project. And then they had curriculum around it as well, with Time for Kids that was distributed as well. So it was just a beautiful opportunity to bring storytelling, technology, and education together.
Yeah, I remember when you were working on that project, you talked about it and it brought you so much joy. And something else that I wanted to bring to the forefront, you were really ahead of your time when you really created POV, points of view, because you really talked about how these emerging technologies can begin to prey on the Black community. Talk a little bit about that AI and policing and how you really came up with the concept of points of view.
Yeah, that project was actually stemmed from, anybody remember the young kid, I think it was Shamir Rice. He was like 14 years old. They say he was playing with like a toy gun or something like that. And the police just rolled up on him and killed him. And we were thinking, we have started working with Google's VR lab, and we were like, we have so much technology, so much innovation, so much financing in these technological sectors. And we were like, well, what if we could have prevented that from happening, right? And an AI drone could have, you know, hovered over to the kids, say, hey, drop the gun, walk 20 feet, sit down, and the cops are gonna come talk to you about that. And that's what the idea stemmed from. We were like, we know the technology exists because it exists now. There are AI drones now flying around, and there are robot dogs walking in your house, you know what I mean? So those technologies have been designed to police versus protect or disarm, or you know what I mean? So we were just trying to understand, how do we spin that and shift the narrative from marginalized being marginalized, or even more with AI technology, to how can we empower them and use these technologies in a meaningful way, and educate communities on civic technology, so they can take part in designing them, having advocacy policy around what's happening, and they know, like even facial recognition, right? There was so many cases around people being misidentified in the Black community through facial recognition. So we were like, how do we bring exposure to those conversations so they can educate themselves and have more awareness about what's happening with artificial intelligence? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I got two more things that I want to make sure I put in this interview, just so people can know how much of a GOAT you are in this world. I know you also had a major hand in really establishing the USC Charlotta Bass Institute that really chronicles Charlotta Bass's work and in relationship with Dr. Alyssa Richardson in the School of Journalism. So talk a little bit about the work you did at USC.
Yeah, so I mean, that was actually Dr. Alyssa Richardson. She's out of the USC Annenberg. She launched the USC Charlotta Bass Lab for journalism, social justice and journalism. And we worked together. We reached out to her after she had did her book, Bearing Witness, I believe it was called. And we did a project with Oculus called In Protest during the George Floyd riots, protests, right? So she came on as a co-executive producer, and then she was like, hey, I'd love to, collaborate with you all. I got this lab. So we proposed different opportunities we could present to show journalism and journalism students in the graduate program how they could digitize and preserve digital artifacts for storytelling. And that's when we started working with them and developed a program that you participated in as well for that program. To show them how to use augmented reality, 3D scanning, how to capture objects and tell stories in new ways with journalism.
Absolutely. And the last project that had so much heat that I love tremendously is Arts Beats and Tech. I know I've had an opportunity, and shout out Dr. Marla Parker in the room. We were some of the visionary minds that began to really craft the beginning stages of that work. Talk to us about Arts Beats and Tech, and that's in collaboration with Verizon.
Verizon, yeah. I mean, that's actually the first time we reached out after we met at the conference.
Yeah, he was out and on camera. Like, he was the first company to put me on retainer, y'all. Listen, this brother paid me for my work.
Now, what was interesting about that was, at the time, y'all and I, we didn't really know much about curriculum. So we called when we got the Arts Beats and Tech project. We were like, hey, I remember your brother, the work you were doing, and what you said to me about, making sure that the next generation of young Black kids were taken care of in these schools. So we set out to do this project and reached out to you all. And our budget wasn't as much as we thought we needed.
Natasha, the price was a little too high.
And we were like, hold on, man. Y'all were like, hold on, man. We might not know much about the curriculum side yet. We know the filmmaking and the development side. And we went back to the drawing board, and they were actually really, really warm and welcoming and helping us, guide us to develop the curriculum and the program. So Arts Beats and Tech is a virtual reality and desktop application designed to teach kids about music, but through the lens of culture. So history, English language arts, where like kids love the 808 drum. Well, y'all created a curriculum where they take you back to the Mali Empire to learn where the 808 drum came from, so you can understand and take that journey to understand how all these sounds and how all cultures come together. And then we dive into cross-cultural experiences as well. Mesoamerican culture, understanding how all these sounds and cultures come together to learn our history through the experience of sound and music.
I love it. And we're embarking on our Pan-African Immersive Storytelling Academy. And just for everybody here with us and then people on IG land, what is immersive storytelling? Because I know you are a talented filmmaker. You've won awards from ABFF, Best Director, Best Film, all of those cool things. How did you make that transition from film to immersive technology? And could you just tell us, what is immersive storytelling?
Yes, I made the transition after I got fired. Real talk. I was doing movies. I was directing feature films and television. And my manager at the time, I was looking to expand into like visual effects, animation, other genres and things like that. And I primarily done like holiday, family, and things like that. But you know, in the business, it's like when you do something well, it's kind of like, that's what you do.
One lane.
Stay with that and you're good. And my manager and I were like, hey man, you know what? You got a lot more in you. You know you want to do a lot more. I'm gonna help you out. I said, what you mean? He said, I'm gonna cut you off right here so you can actually go focus on this thing you showed me called virtual reality. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to figure out how to pay these bills now. And fortunately, you know what I mean, I was able to, you know, invest, take what the fruit of what had been done in production with the film company, and took about a year and a half, 2 years, just in R&D, really trying to understand what virtual reality was, getting in the community, until we finally landed an opportunity to create our first experience with Toyota. And then a lot of it was brands at first, until we decided to go back to our roots, which was storytelling. And then we made a VR experience called A Little Love, about a young girl and her mother who goes back into the workforce, and she doesn't know how to communicate how much she misses her and how much time she wants to spend with her. So the daughter makes a birthday wish to spend all the time with her. And naturally, what she wake up, the mom wakes up inside her dollhouse, it's like a little toy like this, so she can have all to herself. And it's like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids experience in virtual reality. Where the daughter gets to hang out with the mom in this dollhouse. And that was the experience that really set it off for us. You know, we shout out to Jeff Friday at American Black Film Festival. He funded the opportunity for us to showcase it. Black Enterprise saw it, gave us our first Technology Innovation Award in San Francisco. And Verizon happened to be there. And they were like, this is amazing. Can you do this for education? And I was like, well, I don't really know much about education, but let's talk about it. And our first project was at Cal State LA. We did a virtual reality career day experience, showing kids opportunities in how STEM was connected to different fields. So like you got a chance to meet like Peter Ramsey, the director of Spider-Verse. And he talks to you about how animation is related to 3D, you know, STEM and things like that. And then they say, hey, we love that, let's do something else. And that's when Arts, Beats, and Tech came out. We came together. And then I reached out to y'all who had a background in music, reached out to you all, and we just started cooking it up, you know. Did I answer your question?
You did. Okay. You did. I'm going to open it up to all my beautiful people here, and you guys can monitor IG if we have any questions. But does anybody have any questions for Alton? Matthew.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about the March recreation, and oftentimes when we see historical photos, they're black and white, they're dated, which kind of communicates that this is a long past history. This was a long time ago, which I think obscures how much of that continues on today. And so I wonder what's your approach in terms of using color versus black and white, in terms of how you visually present, and if you think about modernizing images as a way of kind of psychologically aligning the topics with the urgency of now.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when we've done projects, we've actually done a little bit of both, right? We might start off in, you know, that black and white color palette that sort of set the tone for that time period, but also show you how we can progress forward, and then we might transition into color. So we've done really cool stuff like that. I think it's important to once you've got the facts down, you know, start to really understand the impact behind what you want to create, and then allow that imagination to sort of take the journey forward. And that's how we like to apply our work, what we like to apply to our work, you know, and give you enough room to not give you everything so that you can join into the story and imagine yourself, right? And you also fill in some pieces. And I think that's the great part about storytelling, right? We can't give you every step. You have to kind of find your way and use your own imagination to fill in the gaps.
Anybody else?
Well, I'm thinking of just the possibility of using the technology that you're describing to really working in the sense of like genes and like children studying about DNA coding and all of that kind of thing. Have you had any interface with that kind of work, or is that of interest to you?
Oh, definitely of interest. I mean, we were just talking to a company recently who they're doing work around like neurodivergence.
Yeah.
and the study of the brain. And I'm really fascinated by, well, what does that exploration look like? Because the technology today makes that a very, very interactive and an experience that you can kind of go inside and explore how do people see the world? How do they react to certain things? So I thought that was really, really impressive, what they were doing. And then they reached out to us about how to convert that experience into a VR or augmented reality experience, something that can be immersive. Yeah. So I'm definitely open to doing those things.
I'm just thinking about the possibility of students learning more fully about themselves in that way, finding interconnection. Even when you were talking about the arts and the drums, like the pattern of the drum, going back 808. I grew up on 808. That matters to me. Tracing it back to Mali, thinking about, just understanding yourself in that way ancestrally. And then also, like you said, neurodivergence, like having a better understanding of yourself, how you learn, being able to see. Have you, a follow-up question would be, my oldest son is definitely a tactile learner, right? So school was very rough for him because that's not the way they teach. And so have you found that you've gotten a lot of feedback from students like that are more tactile learners where they have felt that you opened the door for them?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the question you asked earlier about the benefits. I didn't think about it in that context, but it definitely provides a great entry point for people who have different learning styles. Whether it's we're using sound, we're using, by hand, phones, or augmented reality, or we're dropping you into a full-on VR experience, or showing you how to use AI, conversational AI, to sort of engage and create your own chat bots and things like that. So yeah, I think it opens up a great opportunity to meet different students where they are with different learning modalities. Yeah, for sure.
Marla.
So I've heard of local school districts they're challenged with putting guardrails around technology so that the students can get the best out of it without really being overly exposed to harmful things. So how are you thinking about that when you're developing these products and these experiences?
First, just educating them on like the ethics and responsible, how to understand it as a tool that's supposed to help you elevate your own ideas and your culture, your roots. How do you use it as a conduit for opening those pathways as opposed to tech for tech's sake? And a lot of times people chase technology, and we really don't believe in chasing technology because it's going to change so fast. But understanding it from your own, what we call DNA, right? What is your deep narrative analysis? What is your story? What is your point of view? And how do you apply that to the ever-changing landscape of technology and how you apply it? So we start there first. We teach it from the inside out versus just the technology, so they can, understand how to leverage it in a way that is, beneficial and responsible and innovate with purpose.
Joff.
Is there a bucket list project that you have, or an industry that maybe you haven't ventured into yet, or AR or virtual reality hasn't been as prevalent, seen as prevalent?
So he asking those investor questions right there.
There you go.
He got that turtleneck on. He ready to cut the check.
Wait.
He ready to cut the check.
And speaking of investment, my brother's company actually was in the running in the Black Ambition Prize from Pharrell Williams. So my brother's out here. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Now, that's a great question. I'm a little neurodivergent myself, so y'all has to always reel me back in. I get excited about ideas and things like that. I would say one thing we're working on right now I'm really excited about is a project around climate change. I just had a new child, and it made me start to think about what is the world going to look like for them 50 years from now, right? And I was like, man, well, what is it that we can do now to try to educate ourselves and educate the youth, and how can we leverage the tools that we use, immersive technology, immersive storytelling, for them to bring that awareness and then sort of reimagine and design what that future could look like. So I'm excited to understand what we can do now with this project we have called Harmonizing Climate Science with Creativity in XR. and where we're bringing all the tools that we've been leveraging in teaching into the classrooms. It's sort of like a hackathon style where we teach them about all these tools on top of them understanding from a global standpoint climate change, but then bringing it down to a hyperlocal problem solving standpoint of what's happening in my own community and how can we create a project that provides advocacy ultimately where you can show stakeholders who can create some policy around what's happening to really make an impact. So we're looking at environmental injustice, food insecurity, different things like that, and how can we tell these really amazing stories. There's a really great exhibition right now at the Hammer Museum called Breathe about these things, and I was really fascinated by all the different aspects of climate change, and it just really blew my mind. So that's on the bucket list, and we're approaching that now, and I just want to see how amazing we can make that project. I just saw a video in Ghana where they said over 164 million, I forgot what the number was, but they have like a landfill of clothing that gets shipped over there. And they were talking about how that contributes to, climate change. And I was like, wow, that's incredible, right? So we reached out to Roman, who's actually in Ghana, one of our guys that came from Tech Lemert, who works in Immersive now. And I said, hey, man, can you get out there, scan it, and let us know what's going on out there? We may be able to do something with that. So how do we look at it from a global standpoint? And I'm excited about turning that into an exhibition and installation, and then a toolkit that we can give out to schools to continue to repeat. Yeah.
Absolutely. Scott! What up, Scott?
Hi. I come from the world of user experience design. There's a lot of intersections that we're talking about. One of the as we get into education and immersive storytelling, you maybe talk a little bit about pre-visualization, prototyping. If you've got a big idea and there's some risk involved, money involved with creating that, can you talk a little bit about how we involve students in sort of encouraging them to to experiment with big ideas before they pour all their heart and soul into actually making the thing, but maybe testing or building a quick prototype and maybe testing it with an audience to see if it has legs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and by the way, when you were talking about that project, there's a really great organization called AGOG, A-G-O-G. They're like an Immersive Media Institute, so they're our partner in this Harmonizing Climate Change project. But to tie back to what you were saying, I think the beautiful part about what's happening now is you have AI, generative AI, right? Tools. Yeah. Where 2 years ago, if I had an idea, I had to storyboard it. I had to do all these steps. And I'm not saying cut all those people out of the process, but if now you have generative AI where you can actually text an image from an idea, see it come to life, right? Learn how to storyboard that out now, right? You can do that in a matter of like minutes, right? Then you can take that into these softwares like Canva and Gamma that'll automatically generate the deck for you. I mean, and then if you just want to just formulate the idea, you can use ChatGPT responsibly, right? And then if you want to convert that to video, you can take it to image to video now and tools like Runway. And now you've got a whole video of the experience. And you've literally shown someone what you've done with your imagination is now come to life. We just hosted a program called Tech Immersion in Chicago. And we showed them how to create their own storyboard, mood board, and how to use XR and AI. One of the participants, she emailed me last week. She said, she sent me her deck. She did a whole presentation about virtual reality in casinos. She got a pitch meeting to a casino, and now she's got a follow-up meeting. They said, we hadn't seen nothing like this. She had no experience in XR, AI, none of it. Her whole deck was amazing. And she got a second meeting to go get a contract at a casino. I was like, wow, blown away. So they can do that type of stuff. I mean,
that's an exciting opportunity for kids to know, hey, you don't have to, there's a fast process.
Yes, it is.
I can get the idea out of my head.
Absolutely.
Especially now. I mean, the tools available now, are amazing.
Absolutely.
And that's immersive.
Ronice, what you got?
Yeah, just one more, just a very personal question. I do not have a background in tech. I know you've been doing this a long time. But I had the pleasure of going to the workshop that we did in Pasadena. So we saw several different displays and workshops of the drones and then the virtual reality, all of these things. If you could only pick one, your budget was limited, which one would you pick to teach our students, and why is that the most impactful?
That's a great question.
Come on, Brother Neves.
Yes. First, I'm going to say I didn't have a background in tech. And when I started to learn it, it was very frustrating. It was very, very, very frustrating, especially when people were talking over me. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. But what I learned was, what I loved about getting into immersive tech was I had to learn how to learn, right? And I love that process of discovery. And with that, I took a pause on trying to learn all this tech for the sake of learning tech to learn to my own strengths. And I think that's the most important thing. You teach it and you get them to learn it to their strengths. And then you start to empower yourself through your own lens. And that's how the company was pretty much birthed, by taking that pathway and finding projects that I could marry my own perspective to, right? For the technologies, right? And I think understanding, the class and what you want to achieve is how you pick the tool, right? For the sake of amplifying your vision first, right? Versus just the sake of the technology, right? So like if you were saying, I want to do something in history, then I'll probably say, okay, well, maybe we might want to explore scanning, like the 3D scanning you did on the iPad. Let's scan artifacts. Let's scan signs. Like, you might go to different landmarks and scan things, right? And then put audio stories on them, things like that to tell that story. And you might do a partnership with a map, and you can take a whole virtual tour through the community that the kids made. So it depends on what it is you want to do. I would kind of start there, but I like them all. It just depends on what I'm doing, right? But what's accessible is, phones, AR, scanning, and then AI. Like he talked about being able to do pitches and presentations. You can do so much now. VR, I love VR, but it does require one more step for hardware. You know what I mean? That it's not as accessible, but all those things are a good bridge into virtual reality.
I want y'all to clap it up for Alton. He set us up, man. I don't know who's coming after you, brother. You really set us up on an amazing trajectory. Please visit grximmersive.com. You can find out all about Alton, his team, all of the amazing work that he is doing. Stay tuned for us with the incredible work we're doing in Pasadena Unified School District, in collaboration with the district, in collaboration with the African American Parent Council. We've got some exciting things on the horizon, because the goal for us is to really just revolutionize education. Education is stale, it needs updating, and we don't want teachers to be afraid of this. Students are already grabbing a hold to this technology, whether we like it or not, and so our goal is to just really make our educators come along and enjoy the journey. And I love what you just said. Leverage the technology to use your strengths. And that's something that I've always taught in education when I'm teaching or doing professional development. How are we really playing to the strengths of an individual? Because once you do that, the sky's the limit for them. So Alton, thank you for being so gracious with your time. And so we just have amazing people here. And so come hang out with us. You never know who you're gonna meet. I always say you miss a day, you miss a lot. But we thank everybody for coming out. So now we just have an opportunity where y'all can mingle, talk, hang out for a little bit till 8, and then y'all gotta go home.